Really know what's going on over there other than everybody's dumb.
The instant you step out of line, you say something that they don't like and they don't like you personally, they're going to use all those pre-existing laws and they're going to use it on you.
A woman exposed her male genitalia to women and underage girls. That's what happened.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way. It's super cringe.
Truckers, Eric Butlers, and Ben Bankus's. I guess we could change this up a little bit. There we go. I'm big today. How are you guys doing? Benjamin, let's start with you. You're not here during the trucker convoy.
I still want to tweet. I got to tweet out the link, doggy.
Just retweet it. It's on my Twitter page, dog.
Fuck your Twitter page.
That's not a good start. Eric, how are you?
Oh, living the dream, bro. It's free here in Arizona, at least for the time being. I got no complaints. Well, I got a couple complaints, but I'll save those for later.
Of course. Welcome everybody watching on Getter.
Hi.
Get good views on there right now. We're still suspended on my main YouTube channel for what were we suspended for again, Eric? Dana White talking about vaccines and stuff. I think we assume YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, just the most vague thing. You never know. You just never know. Medical misinformation, which I think is hilarious because I was just reading that story about Rihanna, who is saving the planet, the climate justice.
Boys.
So when you're fighting for climate change or climate justice in this case, you don't have to be a scientist. You can just be a singer or a movie star. But when you want to talk about Rona,
this is true.
You have to be a doctor. When you want to talk about abortion, you have to be a woman. So, the standards constantly change, but I guess we're used to it by now.
It's true. We're going to talk to you guys about, of course, the
You guys aren't
convoy.
doctors?
I am actually. We're on my backup YouTube channel. We're on Getter.
Have you seen that?
And we're
There's
on
this
Twitter.
woman. There's this
and
woman.
Twitch
she's
for some reason.
On Twitch? Okay, cool. There's like this woman in Canada that's like, she was cited by the Toronto Sun as putting out misinformation. She's a doctor. Her name's like Dr. Kaplan or something. I retweeted it. If you go to my Twitter at Ben Bankus, you can check it out. She wrote this tweet where she's like, just drove through Ottawa, saw lots of Confederate flags and people with very aggressive slogans or something like that. And she's
she didn't.
And she literally wrote this, and she goes, as I was listening to CBC News say that it was mostly peaceful. Like, she's literally such a mental patient that she's like, I'm listening to the propaganda and it's not propaganda enough. And she's just making stuff up, and it gets retweeted by like hundreds and hundreds of people who are just like, this is preposterous. And all she does is show the same two pictures of the convoy of the Confederate flag, and like there's one with like a swastika. It's like those are the same. There's only two pictures. There's no video of it. I saw a video today. It was like a guy in a full mask with a Confederate flag, and they're like, sir, like, get the fuck out of here because you're clearly a Fed.
Yeah,
and then he left. He had a Confederate flag with a transport truck on it. There's no way you could have had that flag like at your house.
Yeah.
For years, and it's insanity.
Well, do you guys have the same problem with the feds? Infiltrating the protests. I mean, we're seeing that. We don't know if it's true or if it's not true. Eric. No, I'm just curious.
I'm pretty sure they're doing it here now because they saw that it could work there. And it's weird because they always dress the same. Like that's the weird part. Like I saw that in the States, there's this what's it called, the Patriot Front movement or something like that. And it's like all these guys with masks on and sunglasses and a little hat, and it's like, and a hood. It's like they're dressing the same as them. That's what's so crazy. That's what makes me be like, guys, we're actually living in like Venezuela right now, to the point where the government doesn't even care to hide. They're scrambling. They don't have the time to hide these people properly in the crowd. They're just like, just send them with Confederate flags.
They don't have the resources here, Eric, to pull off anything like what they pull off in the States. So this is why you have the same people taking pictures of one guy with a Confederate flag. True North, which is a good outlet up here, has put out I think a $3,000 reward going for information towards the guy carrying the swastika flag, which of course has
Right.
creases in it because it was just unfolded and just purchased, and that's all they can come up with is these people that nobody knows. Mainstream media takes a picture of this guy with the Confederate flag 10 feet away, won't go up and talk to him. He's got his own cameraman, which is also weird. Usually when you're like a person who goes to protest, you don't have a still photographer with you. You have,
if you do, like everybody would
phone or something like that.
Or if you do, everybody would know who you were because they'd be like, "Oh, that's such and such a guy's YouTube channel that he's filmed." Like I don't know.
There is a guy like that too.
They're just pretending. Yeah, they're just pretending that. Like I have a lot of.
There's a guy that goes to protest in Toronto, Ben. When we were both at that PPC event and I was covering it, there's a guy who walks with like a Canadian Confederacy flag, like the really old flag before Canada was a country, and people know who that guy is because his purpose is to show up and make people look like they're whatever, like they're racist or whatever is categorized as, and people know who that guy is because he shows up all the time. He's not masked and nobody likes him, nobody talks to him. But at this event, you just have guys in masks. They get one picture of them and that's enough. And I want to show some of the footage here while we're talking. Of course, we had Ezra talking. We won't have the audio unless we want to. But we had Ezra giving this speech to the truckers yesterday. It was a good speech. There's us. There's Ben's face. Here's Trudeau denounced the convoy. I just want to get to some of the other footage from the streets.
What the hell
here.
are you doing? Oh, this one.
So here's some of the cops standing around doing nothing. Now, some of the stuff that I was sharing yesterday. First of all, so Amber MacArthur is a person who had a problem. She's like a big tech person in Canada. She's always been around like the tech universe. This is the main thing they had a problem with. Eric was asking about it. So Terry Fox, I already explained to Eric who he is. And if you're not familiar with him, you're American. He's a guy in the 80s. He got a rare cancer.
He's a fucking guy.
He lost his leg. He tried to run across the country. He died on the way. He's a bit of a hero. Everybody loves him. There's always like an annual Terry Fox run. Very good guy. It was like 80s Canada. It was this big deal. It was very 80s Canada. Everybody loves him. And there's a statue of him in Ottawa. So they had a problem with somebody putting a flag, a mandate freedom sign on him, and then eventually a Canadian hockey hat and tying a flag around him. This is what we're talking about, Eric. This is how desperate they are. All they could find was one guy, probably a Confederate flag, Nazi flag, and then the statue. And I wanted to let everybody know what they weren't mad about was a few months ago, he had a mask terribly put on him. And then, of course, the first prime minister, as you guys will know, his statue was decapitated. They tore down a Ryerson statue.
They also put like a pride flag. They gave him a pride flag, and the point is, it's bullshit. And the government and the media knows it to the point where it's so scary, both that they're so willing to lie to this extent, and also that people are actually believing them. There are apparently this group of fringe group of people that apparently still believe things like, oh, it was defaced. I saw particularly Canadian. We want to talk about 80s Canada. What about most of the comedians on my Facebook are 80s, 90s Canada, and they are just brainwashed by all this stuff. And I saw a guy going, this is repugnant. That they, there was a couple of people who danced on the war memorial. It's like, so they danced on it for a second during a fucking freedom rally where, people are desperate to get their lives back here. And that's somehow more offensive than people literally spray painting those war memorials as, white they were literally sprayed on them, white supremacists, all kinds of stuff, not your land, not our, all kinds of stuff like that. And
but so
that was.
You guys remember? I'm sorry. Do you guys remember that viral clip of Trudeau when he was like stuttering when he was trying to get the words out, or the letters out, I should say, when he was talking about LBGTQ whatever? Remember, it was a couple months ago when he went viral and he was talking about that. So he's going to bat for that minority population, right? I mean, really going to bat. He doesn't even remember the acronym, but he's going to bat for them hardcore. And when the entire country, or I don't know, what are we talking about here? Maybe more than half of the country, it seems like, is over this. but he won't acknowledge that protest. So he can acknowledge a handful of, I don't know, Jessica Yaniv type of characters with an incorrect acronym, or is it acronym? Yeah. But he will not, he runs and literally has gone into hiding because he was in contact with somebody who may or may not have had Rona. So
apparently it was his kid. They're like, oh, it was actually his kid that had Rona, but we didn't want to say because we didn't want a security concern. But also now they're all isolating together with his kid, even though so nothing makes sense. Like it's just complete.
did the kid get the shot? Do you guys know if the kid got the shot?
Well, I mean,
Oh, I don't know how old he is. I don't know if there's an age limit now. If it's, I used to be able to keep track.
you've been alive for 10 minutes. You should be getting a shot.
Yeah, okay. Well,
10 minutes after birth is the age.
You just you get the shot. It was 5 to 12 and 13 to 17 or like it's all to me it seems arbitrary, right? I mean, it's kind of like how we see in California they talk about the orange tier and the yellow tier. It reminds me of that old Sunny episode where they're having a color fight and none of it makes any sense. They're trying to sell it to you as if, well,
I wouldn't even put it. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying
I wouldn't even put it past them to be like, we have to actually vaccinate your testicles so that your future kids will be vaccinated before as they enter the womb. Like, I mean, at what point do we stop and just go, this is dumb? Anybody, the government's just played this like we're here to protect you, and I don't know, is it malicious? Are they just that stupid that they're just like don't understand that this is like taking away people's rights and that they want to force people like? But the thing is, this is happening in so many countries. It's happening in New Zealand and Australia, all these countries in the US and especially in certain states. So like Canadians should be at the forefront. If Canadians want to be proud about Canada, they should be at the forefront of pushing back on this, and I think a lot of them are. I don't think it's the majority of Canadians. I think the majority of Canadians are ostriches burying their head in the sand right now, having no opinion on the Ottawa protests. And if you were to ask them, they'd go, I'm not sure what I should say. That's the majority of Canadians. The minority of Canadians are, there are people from that side who are joining forces with the trucker people. But then there's also people who see a Confederate flag, and it's not even because they believe it, but because of who they work with and what they do for a living. They're like, I have to say that this is racist, and they do.
But isn't this is the age-old question, Andrew, that we ask almost every week, basically? Is it malicious or is it pure stupidity? Now, I think we've come to the conclusion that it is actually malicious. I don't know if it's just profit-driven or control, a little bit of both. But there's no way, you got Chuck Todd talking to Dr. Fauci a couple days ago on MSNBC and showing him like, bro, you're losing them. They don't really trust you anymore. And Fauci's just like, well, we're going to try to have clearer messaging. It's like, dude, it's over. They're clinging to these little scraps of credibility that are in the wind right now. It's all collapsed into dust, and they're just sticking with it. They're doubling down.
I agree. I agree that it's malicious, but I do think there's an aspect of stupidity where they almost don't know it's malicious. Like they know it is, but they're like, but if we can just follow what I have to say, it's gonna solve everything. I don't know. I'm on both sides. Like I'm more just playing devil's advocate here. I do think that, but look, if they're malicious and they know they're losing, then they're gonna start doing more and more stuff, and that's what you're seeing. You're seeing snipers at Capitol Hill. You're seeing RCMP and cops being flown in from all over the country to come to Ottawa to act tough and but the reality is they don't look that tough. They look like they're just like, this is stupid. I'm getting paid overtime. I don't care. I'm away from my wife and kids. This is great. They're partying in Ottawa too, like the cops, like I'm sure.
Well, there was that one, like you were talking about the dancing on the memorial thing. One global news reporter, David Aiken, who's a big douche. He posted a picture of two people parked in the memorial, the military memorial, and then the Ottawa police replied to him and they say as soon as they were asked to move, they moved immediately. And it was two cars. Yeah. Obviously they didn't know, like it wasn't like on the memorial, it was like, encroaching on the area where the statue is. Not that anyone in the military would care. I was in the military. If you're not on an actual grave, if you're not desecrating it, they weren't. Dude,
actually, imagine having to say these people are racist because they parked in the wrong spot. Like that's the level of like just lies that they're just like, look at this. We have satellite imagery. Your tax dollars are going to satellite imagery of a couple SUVs double parked in the old Memorial parking lot. Hey, that's supposed to be off limits unless you go in a visit on a fucking Veterans Day. Okay, it's illegal. Look, these people are racist.
This guy worked for the Washington Post, which of course
insane,
owned by Jeff Bezos, and he's saying truckers are fascist.
Oh my fuck!
And like, you work for Amazon, who delivers all your stuff by trucks. At the same time, they're literally battling against the government. How are you one of these people that thinks that a person who is now defying the government is fascist when 2 years ago you said Donald Trump, who was the government, is fascist? It doesn't make any sense at all. And did you see that? Did you guys see the one video of the two girls? Somebody called into question if it was a girl or not, saying that they were there to stop white nationalism and their white nationalist agenda. And a guy girls. And a guy who's brown next to them is like, this isn't that at all. I'll download it.
I did see that. I think I did see that clip. Actually,
she's like, "Fuck your white nationalist movement," and then the guys beside her being like, "Actually, I'm from India, and they really don't think this is a white nationalist movement." And she's just like, "Yeah, whatever. You don't even get it because you're a person of color. You wouldn't understand." That's like
that's downloaded from my guy Lincoln.
The racism involved with the woke people that they like, they don't even know they're being racist, which is even funnier. And they were accusing everybody else of, you don't even know you're racist, but you are. And it's like, I think that you saying that is kind of racist.
Yeah, they have no idea. And they actually there was an episode of Broad City. I don't know if you guys remember that show, where they actually make a joke about that, where she says, I forget their names, but she says to one of the girls, like, you're actually so not racist that you're racist. I mean, they literally bring it full circle. And I think that's what we call traditionally the bigotry of low expectations, right? Where you can't even you don't know anything about this. I will save you. It has that very white savior complex. It just goes on and on and on. But then they will transfer it to other groups, and that's what we see with the LGBT stuff. Like, I'm an ally or whatever, and it's like, dude, you guys are all completely insane. And I was just watching YouTube videos like I do, right? And they're pushing this Black Voices for 2022 really hard right now. Black Voices. Now, it's painfully obvious that they don't really care about Black voices, right? They're not going to amplify my voice. They're not going to amplify Candace Owens or Brandon Tatum or David Harris or the Hodge twins. Those people are all going to get banned. It's just so painfully obvious.
Any of those people, though.
Well, they're black. They're black.
Kidding.
Right. Look, so they're going to tell you that it's all about Black voices, but it's just so painfully obvious. Like, who looks at that and says, well, yeah, they wouldn't even let Nicki Minaj talk, and she's not.
It's the Black voices that agree with them, and it's blah blah blah. It's yeah, they're totally insane. And I like that they, in Canada with the native stuff, like, they're like, oh, the natives, we're gonna give them a day. It's like, well, why don't we just like teach native culture in schools then? Why don't we? Oh, well, that would be bad because they had fucking gender roles. So you wouldn't want to be going around teaching native culture. The women would stay at home and bead the thing, and the men would go hunt, and everybody would go, were there any transgender people in the natives? If not, then maybe the natives were bigoted and maybe they deserved that. Like, that's like the point we're at. And in terms of the fascist, last I was going to say about the fascist trucker thing, the idea that the truckers are fascists coming from Jeff Bezos, and then Elon Musk is like, I stand with the truckers. It's like, guys, you're developing technology to make these truckers obsolete. You're going to have AI robot trucks that don't need a fucking refill or stop or have a person in them. And we're probably 10 years away from that. So it's just funny to me that this is why the trucking industry is such, people just think of it as like, whatever, it's trucking, it's blah, blah, blah. But they're trying to revolutionize it. They want to fire all these dudes, and they want to put a bunch of Tesla trucks on the road. And now we're seeing, oh, well, if that happens, the Teslas are never going to show up at Parliament and be like, hey, we want our freedom back. So just remember that.
Absolutely. I feel like that I was the only person in elementary school to have like a reasonable teaching of like natives and Canadians. Like, we were taught, like, the British came over, they fought with the natives. It was bloody for a while. They eventually got along. The natives gave us this stuff. This was their culture. They are hunters and gatherers. These are the different tribes. It was bad at first, and eventually got along. And we remember Thanksgiving and whatnot, and then it was fine. Nobody thought either side was like the worst thing ever. But now it's got to be, colonists and slave traders, and
Well, it was
none
just
of
this
the how
idea.
come we're not ever mentioning the fur trading, the Hudson's Bay Company. Come on now.
Well, I mean, we did, but the thing is, we kind of had this understanding, like, things in the past were bad, and now they're like not as bad. You know what I mean? Like, there was this understanding that, like, wow, that's really horrible that we did all that stuff. Good thing that we're all sitting here in this classroom today together talking about it. Like, it wasn't like, oh my God, trigger warning. Like, it was just like people weren't as dumb. I don't know.
Well, and
there
now
wasn't enough
we're at the point,
starvation
though,
need for this stuff, I guess.
but now it's like they completely ignore any quote progress that has been made, right? Because then they have nothing to fight for, so they're pretending that nothing has really changed, and it's absolutely insane. And now we got to the point where, what was it, a couple weeks ago, that a couple weeks ago, when Microsoft was announcing the stolen
Ben's
land that
messaging
they
us
were
saying that
on.
Eric's high. You can say that on here, Ben, if you really
No, I
want
didn't
to.
want to.
I don't think Eric's high though. This is just how he looks.
No,
No,
yeah,
I
that's
know.
just how I look. But right. So you don't have to announce the land that you were on, and describe yourself to the blind people. And I mean, how did we get here? Did Obama do? How did this happen? When
Let me ask a really
was it
important
Twitter?
question. How are there so many deaf people that need the like 8 interpreters? Like, how many deaf people do we have that it's like nothing can be?
I was actually
You
saying
go to
this
a
the other
rock
day
concert
for,
now, and they're like, it's like,
that
Yeah,
doesn't make any
who is
sense.
this for? There's what, one person here? I mean, this is insane.
What I don't
at a
get is
Waka
when it's
Flocka
on
concert.
YouTube. When it's on YouTube and there's captioning, but let's get away from
That's
talking
the
about.
only. Well, I'm just gonna say this because Trudeau's sitting there going, "Oh, it's a fringe minority. Who cares?" It's not that deaf people are a fringe minority, but they're definitely a minority. Okay, and I'm just saying that he goes out of his way to make sure every speech has interpreters and for the
Are
for the deaf
interpreters
people.
mimes to you?
Yes,
They've
but it's
got
just, I mean,
interpreters.
but they know exactly how weird it is for everybody else who's not deaf to just see that on there's like some sort of psychological thing. And like, how many deaf people, I'm sorry, are like super into politics that they're just like, I need to want to do those speak. Like, it's just not happening.
I
This
think
is
there's probably
uncensored,
more.
right?
There's
This is
more deaf
uncensored,
people.
but my job is on the line at all times. I think. Andrew says, host comedian who mocks anyone.
The
Eric,
deaf.
you want to say something? Exactly.
Well, I was just
I
gonna
love
say
the
that
deaf.
there's
They're great
more.
people.
There's more. I would say there's more deaf people into politics than there are into, as sad as it sounds, music. Right. So there was that viral clip a long time ago of a sign language interpreter. I think at a Waka Flocka show. Right. You know, Waka Flocka. Right.
Yeah.
Like, and she's signing the lyrics to, I don't know, Hard in the Paint or one of Waka Flocka's songs, and it's just like, it looks ridiculous, and she does like I'm miming
Do you
things
know?
that I'm
Do you know? Do you know the sign? Do you know the sign for the N word? Is there a sign for that? Because
that's a
There's,
great
um,
question. Actually, that's actually a great question. I have no
I mean,
idea.
I'm just saying that's a
There's
Waka
like a-
Flocka.
There was
Yeah, I
like
mean,
a
he uses it,
Nicki
like,
Minaj one too, where the girl was like simulating sex acts in sign language.
Yeah,
But here's the
yeah.
video I wanted to show from my guy Lincoln J, the reporter, of the girls being like, "Oh, this is white supremacy."
What does it
We'll
say?
full
Sorry?
screen it.
So it says, F your white nationalist agenda.
I am not white. This has nothing to do about white.
I'm not a
This is
white.
with truckers. This is
I'm
about
not a
freedom
white.
for all of Canadians. You can be brown, black, white, blue, whatever color you want to be. This is about freedom. And Trudeau has no right to put us in this condition of mandates throughout the country. Children are not going to school. It's a terrible thing to do.
There's also
Dude, the
a
guy's
group.
beard is like filled with ice. Like, he's been there for like 7 hours, and this little girl's like,
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm a boy or not, but you're a white nash. And he's just like, actually, I drive a truck. I drove my truck here. I'm not white.
there's also a page, and I fundamentally don't think I agree with this, but there's a page called POC for Convoy for Freedom Convoy. It's got 30,000 followers, and it's obviously non-white people who are supporting this. So the fact that it's a
Somebody
white
said- I think that-
supremacist thing.
Well, it's like this is where we are because of the left. Like, we would never have to do something like this if the left wasn't calling them racist. I mean, it's not like they came out and were like, here's the POCs of freedom for no reason. They're doing it to disprove these other guys who are just, you're white supremacists. It's like, here's my friend and he's not white. What now? What? And then they just go, ugh, you're not a scientist. And then they run away.
No, and it reminds me of back when I was at back.
Or maybe they're like, you're not a raceologist. You can't tell me that man is not white.
But you can identify as a raceologist. But okay, you can identify as anything. But this reminds me of when I was back in New York and we were trying to we were protesting the removal of a Teddy Roosevelt statue, and there was a bunch of these like they were maybe college kids, but they look super young. I can't tell. I'm old, so I can't tell how old these kids are anymore. But they had these little white kids had literally like written the letters BLM on the inside of a pizza box or something, a super cut rate sign. And I went to go over to talk to them because they were calling us racist, and I'm like, do you think I'm a racist? And they wouldn't talk. They went dead silent. They have nothing to say. And I'm,
Right.
I just,
The answer is yes.
so they think I'm a
really
racist
crazy.
against me or against.
They think they know what's best for you on behalf of you. They think they've done enough like racial studies, enough what's the word, intersectionality courses. They've done so much of that and heard so much of that they've convinced that this is the reality of the world and this is what's correct, that they know what's best for, in your case it would have been black people. They know what's best for you, and at the end of the day they don't want to say it, but they want to call you a race traitor. This is what Amala Ekpanobi, I just saw a post from her yesterday where she was getting called a race traitor. People get called this all the time. On my latest show, which I had Bryson Gray versus the BLM New York founder, Siobhan Newsom, she started off calling him basically a race traitor. She said, how can you betray your brothers and sisters like this so that you can, get a retweet from Trump, I think is what she said. You guys are going to want to watch that, by the way. They ended up being friends towards the end, but were they at each other's throats. He told her that like she was an emotional woman. She was like, it was so much stuff. It's going to be good. But I wanted to show this one that Eric sent me, which is from Washington Post again. Thank God. Their opinions. Long lines, and we'll read some of it. Canada must confront the toxic Freedom Convoy. And this is from yesterday. Long lines of truckers calling themselves Freedom Convoy are headed across Canada to Ottawa from the west to the east and from the east. Estimates the size of the convoy vary. I won't estimate. Bigger than a breadbasket. Small spelling mistakes here, Washington.
You don't know how to read.
Small than Hadrian's Wall. Hundreds of trucks and personal vehicles by some estimates. So this guy write in like Telegram? Hundreds of vehicles by some estimates. Smaller than Hadrian's Wall. Stop. Those taking part on their way ostensibly to protest pandemic measures, including vaccine mandates for truckers, but that's just the tip of the spear. I'm waiting for white supremacy, Eric. How far do we have to go down for white
Tip of the
supremacy?
spear. I
Well,
feel
they
like
say
the spear is kind of racist.
Trumpist, toxic, authoritarianist politics. Donald
now
Trump
also
Jr.
authoritarianist, isn't that like a authoritarian?
Yeah,
I love
think
how
that's
they're
just
like,
the word.
yeah, they're like,
guy can't even
we're
write.
authoritarian. They're authoritarianist.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But it's
And
the
they just
Trumpist
pick out
thing.
Donald Trump, of course. They just pick
Yeah.
out Trump Jr. and Trump. They don't mention Joe Rogan, Russell Brand, who considered himself a leftist, all the other people, basically everybody. Time and time again, lessons crossed. By and large, a fringe group, an unfortunate minority in which a further minority of insidious extremists lurk. How does he know this? He doesn't know this.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
He doesn't.
He doesn't know this at all. Name me a Canadian extremist group, Washington Post guy. Name one.
Terry
You
Fox.
can't name any. Pardon me?
Terry Fox.
The Proud Boys. I don't know.
Proud Boys are considered a terrorist group, but they don't do any. Like they don't do they exist? They probably
Not
just
a lot
went
of
and
people know
changed their
this,
name.
but Terry Fox was actually he was a white supremacist terrorist.
You know how we got a full screen you
I'm
when
kidding.
you claims like this. We know you're kidding. These are sensitive times. You can't be flags around
you
things.
can't be saying things that aren't true, but isn't that what everybody's doing? Like I don't know. This is why they don't want
Lying's
comedy,
not
because it's
allowed.
like once you make a joke about it and both sides laugh, it just becomes like, oh, like this is dumb. Like who gives a shit? You know what I mean? Like I really want to be on side who gives a shit, but I'm so pissed off at the blatant, like I feel like you know, anybody who has a voice, or even if you only have a couple thousand followers, a couple hundred, whatever, and you see something, it's like say something about it. Like it's the equivalent of being silent during the beginning of before World War II, when Germany's doing this and that, and you're just going, well. No, you stand up and you go, look, here's a picture of Terry Fox with a gay flag on it with some guy standing beside it. That's fine. But a Canadian flag is somehow racist. I mean, this is ridiculous. And it needs to be seriously stood. I mean, I remember watching these. I don't even know if it was BLM or whatever the Canadian equivalent was when they were tearing down Canadian statues, and I was horrified posting about it, and nobody on my Facebooks and whatever, I mean, except for my fans on Instagram, but like on my personal Facebook, which I'm constantly trolling and trying to make people very upset, they just keep silent. I'd be like, what is this? They're tearing down statues, and now they're like, repugnant. There's a hockey stick on the wall. Like, shut the front door, boys.
You can say F words if you want. Yeah, it's they had to find something. So they found their two images that they planted, and then the statue was their big thing. You know, his foundation says this and that like, but nobody's believing the outrage. Nobody's believing that it's racist. It's literally just people driving across the country from the entire country who've had enough. And we're seeing, at the very least, the Conservative Party collapse in terms of their rhetoric. I mean, Aaron O'Toole, the Conservative leader of Canada, actually said that he's never been for vaccine mandates, which is a complete and obvious lie. He's been pro everything for 2 years, at best silent on things. And now they all turn their tune in a week after he's saying he wouldn't say if he supported it. Now they've all of a sudden changed on a dime, and nobody's buying it. And I'm glad. So
Leslyn Lewis,
Leslyn
Lewis should be the leader. She's, first of all, she is black. She's cool. She's smarter than O'Toole. She has way more fucking backbone than O'Toole. And the only reason she lost, there was like some, I don't know if Eric knows about this, but there was like some sort of, crazy. So they have an election for the leader of the party, but I think it's different than in the States a little. I don't know. But anyway, the party members vote. The night of the vote, there was a machine. They were like, it's not working. Oh, what happened? And then they were like, oh, it's Aaron O'Toole. And he wasn't even projected to win. I don't think Leslyn was either. It was some other guy. But they like this is true. That actually happened. And people are just like, well, I don't know. Because they know that if there was a black woman facing Trudeau in the last election, the Conservatives would have won by a landslide, and that would have been it. But instead, oh no, let's put fat, bald, loser in charge. Like, no, he's gonna lose.
So it's like the pipe burst. Can you guess? It's like the pipe burst. Like, oh, oops, we don't know.
Eric,
what
can you
happened.
guess what type of voting system they used for their Conservative leadership election?
Dominion voting systems.
Correct, they do.
No, really? No.
Yeah.
Oh, I was honestly just joking. That was a shot in the dark, but clearly it's because we have reached the peak though, right? Where you can't tell the difference between parody and reality anymore. And
soon you're just gonna walk up to a computer to vote, and you like push a button. They'll be like, "Thank you for your vote." It's like it doesn't mean shit.
I have a question though. Are they going to come after? Are they going to come after Bill Maher, who is now Bill Maher, and Barry Weiss, who are now kind of stepping out of line? They're like, oh, well, maybe this is maybe this doesn't really make sense. Is the establishment going to come for those people?
No, because Bill Maher still is a huge donor. I say no. Bill Maher, he gave over $1 million to Barack Obama. He just wants the Democrat Party to win.
Can you do that? Isn't there's like a cap?
It was a super PAC.
He's trying to,
where they get convince a fuck ton of people together.
Liberals. He's trying to convince liberals to change their tune so that they can win, and he doesn't give a shit about the actual laws. He just knows that this is wrong, which is good. It's good that he's saying these things. But I saw Adam Carolla tweeted today, and he was like, all these people clapping for somebody being on Bill Maher and finally saying, I think I've had enough. It's like, go fuck yourselves, guys. We've been saying this from day one, and you've been discrediting us. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, actually they were right. And then I saw in the comments, people were like, you were not right. Science changes, and we were right at that time, but now we're right. Now it's just a coincidence. You were wrong the whole time. It's like, you are mentally ill. Get the hell out of this place. Like, leave. Put these people in camps. I'm kidding, but actually, maybe.
Well, this is why I don't trust the Conservative Party,
Joking.
because it's the same thing. It's
But
like,
honest-
oh, you guys, we don't want anything to do with you guys for 2 years, and now all of a sudden, oh yeah, you guys were right. Oh, the science changed. I just heard a story today about somebody saying that they were the only people on vacation wearing masks. I don't want to give too much more information about that, but it's just funny.
You saw Trudeau I saw Trudeau on vacation.
No,
Yes,
I wish.
this story is gonna give us something for the next 6 months.
Wait, before we get to that, I wanted to just plug convoyreports.com, because that's where we're pulling the videos from today on my alma mater, I'll call it. I don't know what that means, really. Convoyreports.com, which is on Rebel
Your
News.
employer?
Correct. Yes, that's exactly what
My
I'm
alma
for.
mater, Rebel News, like Rebel News University. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Like PragerU. I'm
Hire me
starting
back.
university. This is where we got the link in video. This is where you can update all the. I'm sure something's been posted since we've done it.
You know what I
we've been
really
on
love
there
is
already.
there's a new like podcast that Rebel News is doing. It's like the Anti-Feminism Podcast with these two girls that they're both cute, and one of them actually, I don't want to, but she talks about that she went to Humber College with a bunch of, but I'm pretty sure she dated a guy who's like so woke, like it's just so funny. I just wish I could know how badly that fucks with him, that like it's like you dated a girl that now is on Rebel News and just talks shit about you. It's amazing. I love that.
It's called Misunderstood, Ben Bankus. Come on, get your plugs right. All right. Yeah, it's a new show on Rebel News. But the story that keeps
good.
on giving, Eric Butler, it's the best story. And now the Daily Mail, this is from, is reporting. Last time we spoke about this, it was they were colluding. One of the team members said that the trans
I want to
swimmers
just go on
were
record.
colluding.
I
Yeah.
want to just, do you remember when I specifically said that there is no logical end to this? We're not going to see this guy just go back to the men's locker room and start swimming with men. I said it's going to get exponentially more bizarre. Did I not say those exact words?
You did.
This is not, and here we are on week 3 or 4 of this, and I have a
think
feeling
4.
that maybe we're not done with this story. So I just want to, I was right about something. That's the point I want to make.
So last week, an anonymous team member said they were colluding with their race, and I explained in a very ridiculous way, because it was so confusing, that in order to collude who won, they would have to still be better than the rest of the field to come first and second to then decide who won. Managed to explain that much simpler this time. So since then, we've got now a non-anonymous complaint, I believe. We're uncomfortable in our own locker room. Leah Thomas, which is the guy who swam for 2 years as a man in university, then transitioned to a woman, state records and all.
And still likes women. Still likes women.
Is that true?
She doesn't always cover up her male ball sack and dick when changing. And
I don't know if this
female version of that.
Look, I don't know if this. I'm gonna let you finish. Right, shout out to Kanye. But in the Daily Wire report, they say that he has gone on. She has gone on record saying that she still likes women, kind of like our buddy Bruce, who transitioned but is still into women. So
don't bring Bruce into this.
Sorry.
How the trans swimmer doesn't always cover up her male genitals when changing, and their concerns go ignored by the coach. Telling the Daily Mail they feel uncomfortable in the locker room. Imagine you get a call you're in the University of Pennsylvania, you get a call from some British announcer like, "Tell me again, love, how he's not covering up his junk." The swimmer said multiple teammates have raised their concerns, which their coach trying to get Thomas ousted from the female locker room. Basically told we could not ostracize Leah by not having her in the locker room, and that there's nothing we can do about it. So this girl is so polite that she's still calling the guy showing his junk a girl, and the coach is basically not doing anything about this guy walking around with his junk hanging out. This is disgusting. Like, what is going on here? He swam for 3 years as Will.
I don't
and
see
he's now
anything wrong
Leah.
with this.
You do-
I see nothing wrong with this.
I don't even know where to go.
These girls need to suck it up and learn what a real vagina looks like.
Okay. Also, though, is this the is this the old photos? Because
honestly, why are so many tranny swimmers? Like, get out of here. Get out of the pool. It's gross.
So okay, yeah, this is the photo that makes me laugh the most, because this appears like an old photo that Leah was wearing the women's swimming gear while them was competing against men. So there's a guy in the background who's wearing the men's wear, but Leah is wearing
a bigger dick than the man guy.
Look at this.
Where does this end? So now, like you said, Andrew, all that we've done here,
I think it's a psyop, dude. I think this is all fake. Like, there's no way this is like this guy actually wanted to do this. This is like he's getting paid by somebody to do this.
But
there's no way.
They've colluded to make sure that transgenders always win, basically. Because, like you said, he's always going to come in first.
That'd be a good slogan for transgender people. Transgenders, they always win.
Which is true. And how does this not bring?
Why do you need to wear a women's uniform? This is what doesn't make any sense to me.
Because they're a woman now. Don't you understand?
All of a sudden, your nipples are forbidden because.
Tell that girl it is live. I know we're not supposed to say the comments because you're a cheap fuck and you're like, oh, I'll need to mention the comments if they pay me money.
This is pre-recorded, actually.
No, it's not.
Live on 6 different things.
I actually think Andrew's become a better person over the past year. He looks like a better person. He sounds.
What does
like
that
a better
mean?
Person. I don't know. You're
mean?
like. You're wearing orange. You're like supporting Native lives.
I'm supporting sodas.
All they wear. You're a little frozen for me. I don't know. You're not moving right now. I can't see your.
I don't know why. It doesn't do it for me, but it shows it for you guys. My point is, like, there's this whole like.
The point is, yes, we are live, Alana. Thank you for watching. Cheers.
Matt Walsh did the thing with the transgender guy with pretty hair, and they couldn't explain what a woman is. So there's no such thing as gender, but I want to be a woman. You can't tell me what a woman is, but at the same time, I'm going to wear a woman's swimming outfit to swim against other men because I identify as a woman, but I don't know. I just don't know, Eric.
Well, it doesn't make sense.
I think it sounds like you're a closeted trans person.
Trans.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, you're like, I don't get it.
I hope more comes out next week.
Right, and we saw this though. Remember when Antifa in LA, when they literally, were rioting so that some weirdo could go into the women's locker room in Los Angeles, and they didn't care about. If I recall correctly, I believe it was a black woman who was like, I don't feel comfortable with this. She was doing the neck roll and all sorts of things, talking about, you can't come in here. My daughter saw your junk and all this. And nobody at that point, they didn't care about race, right? Because we're also told that you have to care about Black, indigenous women of color and the POCs and stuff. But somehow, some way, the man who is pretending to be a woman or thinks he's a woman or wants to be a woman, that will always take precedent over any other what do you call them? Like
dude, why is Saskatchewan
or race expensive? Or anything? What's that?
Sorry, I'm looking at houses in Saskatchewan.
What do you think this is, Ben?
He's not paying attention.
This is a serious news podcast, okay?
I just checked how many viewers you have. Sorry.
I'm trying to find the Daily Wire article where they say that Leah is still attracted to to women. Excuse me. See, it's confusing, but
I think this is going to go on like
that person week. Is
still attracted to women
and pulls the dick out and is in the change room. Great, that's great.
Yes, yeah, exactly, and that's the point. Is that okay? So, not to be crass here, but we can all imagine what might happen if Leah, who thinks that she's a woman, is in the locker room. Of course, yeah. I mean, I want to go into the college volleyball women's locker room as well. Like, why not? That would be fun.
Eric.
But it doesn't. I don't know. The volleyball chicks were the hottest back when
Bet you do.
Right? The volleyball chicks were the hottest in college.
These girls are adults is the thing, so they need to stand up for themselves. They need to not be anonymous. They need to stand together and be like, we're not swimming anymore if this continues. Now, the problem is that if they just allow this Leah Thomas, they're going to break all the school records anyways. They don't need the rest of the team. My microphone just fell. But they don't need the rest of the team, and they can do it without the rest of the team. But they do all need to get together. And unfortunately, this is a thing where I think it can literally be boiled down to girls don't want to be mean is what's happening here. I think that's what it comes down to.
I want to live in Saskatchewan, dog.
Why? He knows that, so he can take complete advantage of the situation. And at the rate he's going with this theory of girls don't want to be mean, he's literally going to be dating one of these chicks and then, destroying their records and then asking them out on dates and still pretending that he's a woman, and then even saying, well, you are transphobic if you don't want to date me, right? But maybe they can date him because they're straight. And I mean, the logic, this entire thing has turned these people into absolute pretzels.
I think we need to get rid of swimming. Any sense. I think swimming as a sport should be over.
That's what they'll have to end up doing.
When there's controversies watching like this, does anybody care if there's a trans person swimming or a woman or a man?
No, well,
who's watching swimming going, where? Oh, that one man is swimming with those women, and isn't that great? Like, stop watching sports. All sports are white supremacist movements. All sports were started by. I just like that argument. Just to go back to the truckers, because there should be. I think we need more trans truckers. Really, is what it boils down to, and a lot of them probably are trans. But I just think it's stupid when people. One of the arguments the left does is they go, "Oh well, the truckers movement was started by somebody who had ties to something that was racist or something like that." It's always they had ties. There's no evidence, but there's ties. That's like a tie you put on when you go out. They had ties to racist people. It's like, okay, so then didn't the government also have ties to racists when they were created and organized? Didn't banks? What about cars? They were invented by Henry Ford. He was a racist anti-Semite. Does that mean that cars are racist? We shouldn't drive cars because the first person who drove a car was I mean, this is just insane. Oh, then you got one little hater here, Hunter Vander Wan. Kicked him out of Ottawa. Kicked him out. He's at home on his little computer going, I hate it. I love lockdown. I love collecting my welfare check. I'm a loser. I mean, this is the type of people that watch your show. I'm just kidding.
But this is the same thing though that we see. Well, right, like, oh, you have ties to racism, you have ties to this. And this is why I continue to say that this is the same thing with Rona. Well, he died of COVID-19 related symptoms, or it was, they any tiny little bridge that they can just say, well, that's related, or he had, the guy falls off a ladder. Remember this story back maybe a year or so ago? A guy falls off a ladder, but they call it Rona because he was short of breath. So of course it's Rona. It's not that he fell off a ladder when he was trying to get, repair the shingles on his roof. That. So they can just say like, well, he's tied to white supremacy, and this is related to COVID-19. It's an absolute mess. They think we're stupid, and unfortunately, a lot of people are really quite stupid. And I don't know how this will end ever.
Well, from what I read, I believe it was officially started by a native Canadian woman. So, and Ben, as for the chat,
that's amazing.
The problem in lies is when you watch something where people who are a fan of me are watching, like I constantly fake troll, so I can't be. I usually just assume that somebody's just trolling. Like I'm fake. I get messages from people because I make fake comments all the time. Like, why haven't you done this? You should have been wearing 3 masks. Is something I would say. So who knows what they're saying? I think Eric sending me this article, the trans swimmer.
Just so you know that I didn't make this up. Is that somebody?
You want to join? Should we join Candace?
Oh no!
Is that the world's most interesting man with Candace Owens?
It looked like it. Leah Thomas's teammate. This is from 2 days ago only. Definitely awkward because Thomas's male genitals are exposed. And
wait, but you got to read the subheader. It's just.
I think we should all be allowed to see those.
Still attracted to women.
Yeah.
We should all be allowed to see the genitals and judge for ourselves if it's
This girl's
offensive
putting her
or not.
mask on. I'd like to point out at this training event.
That's so funny.
Exposing genitalia for the women of the team to glimpse and make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right. Are often covered by a towel, but there's been a number of times. So just several times he's flailing about. Let's try to find the word attracted. Read elsewhere that is. Still attracted to women.
Quote. Yeah. Which is
definitely awkward because
I'm literally moving to Saskatchewan. Why are they?
Why? Because their premier just flip-flopped on everything?
Yeah, they have
that's like when I went to South Dakota.
Well,
it's
affordable.
affordable.
Like people say Alberta is the Canada of Texas or the Texas of Canada. It's just like they lock down the hardest. Like they'll change their mind. They don't actually care about you. They'll change the mind as soon as it becomes politically convenient. You could move to Saskatchewan. I want to move to Texas or Arizona because it's much cheaper than Canada. Florida's like a third the price of a house here near Toronto. Texas is like half the price. Even
what I'm
after
saying is, I'm
exchange
looking
rate.
at these Saskatoon houses, and it's like $500,000 for like I get it, like that. Like you can still buy like $1 million houses, which is blowing my mind because when I think of whatever, I think of concentration camp.
I'm not sure I get the reference.
Just because it's just like in the middle of nowhere. It's just like, oh, that's where they.
It's a plan to
Camps.
get all Jewish comedians there, I think, is what it is.
No, yeah, obviously I want to live in Texas for the rest of my life, but if I were to live somewhere in Canada,
did you get my email, Ben, about that?
Yeah. I gotta send that in.
Good. The other person,
I don't know if it's good enough.
Whatever, it's great. I'm a professional writer.
Great. It's great, but I might need a little more.
Okay, the other person you sent me as an example
your
was
background.
really they just talked about themselves the entire time.
That's what I need you to do. That's what I need you to do because otherwise
really
because they don't give a shit about your opinion of me unless you can prove that you're someone.
Oh,
so you actually have to.
So
you have
nudes,
to be like
I should attach nudes.
Yeah, you should attach your transgender genitalia that you show people in locker rooms. And no, you need to show. You need to send like I did this, I did that. That's why all that stuff is there. That's why it was a template. I'm glad you understand what a template means.
I do not know what's going on anymore.
Going on about how
this
great
doesn't
they
matter.
Yeah, I don't. I missed that whole.
You were good at saying I was amazing. It's for my U.S. visa. He's right.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I want to move to Borneo and live like a king. You should. Yeah, let's all move to fucking third world countries. Canada should just let's all the truckers. Let's just go and buy like some shitty
live on Kanye's commune. I think.
I think everybody should just go back to South Dakota. I would have stayed there, but I gotta find a wife and have kids before I can go live in the mountains with nothing.
I thought you were gonna say go back to where they came from, and I was like, Eric,
can't you find a wife and kids there?
In South Dakota, no, they all weigh much more than I do. So I gotta find them elsewhere and then bring them to South Dakota.
Come to Texas. There's lots of.
Isn't that what they say about Houston? Houston used to be the fattest city in America.
Well, everything is bigger in Texas.
How come you haven't been on Kill Tony again, Ben? Are you still signing up for that every week?
I sign up every week, and
okay.
I don't know. I think that it's very bizarre, and then I'm sure Jared Nathan's going to come back at his automatic spot, and off to the races. And meanwhile, here I am making content every day, showing up to all the shows, and not sure why. I got like 5,000 followers or like 4,000 just from being on and killing. So I don't really know why, but tomorrow's another chance. Could be tomorrow, and then it'd be like, oh, you got on again. Wow. So
I watch every week in hopes.
Yeah, well, you can just ask me, but it's always 2 weeks behind anyway. So
okay, that's the secret you're giving away. Really, I'm watching for William Montgomery, so you should get him on your podcast.
Yeah, or he should get me on his.
Yeah, both. And you guys should kiss.
I'm leaving.
So we're about out of
time. Love you all.
I think you might as well. All right, you're leaving. Be gone.
I love you. Okay.
Do we have one more? Was there one more? Was there one more? All we had was truckers and trannies, I guess. There was
truckers and trannies. We had Kyrie Irving. If you want to talk about that before we go.
Oh well, I found it. Do you have the I just find it very peculiar that Kyrie is now back playing with the Brooklyn Nets, but only on away games. And here he is at an away game in one of the only other places that has gone completely insane with the mandates, but it only applies to the home team players, which
That makes no sense.
it makes absolutely so he can play in San Francisco, but he can't play back home in Brooklyn. And then if
But
you
you
have
can bring theoretically you can bring the disease and spread it on the court from another place.
correct. So Jonathan Isaac, right? I don't know if it's Isaac or Isaacs, but the guy he's writing a book now with the Daily Wire and all sorts of stuff. He didn't kneel with BLM and all that. So that guy who plays in Florida, he can play in San Francisco and Brooklyn. But I mean, it just how does it make any sense? And I'm noticing because I saw that clip of Chuck Todd asking Dr. Fauci how to restore trust in the CDC, and they're admitting that nobody trusts them. But as that's happening, California and their maniacal quote unquote leaders are still doing the exact opposite of what makes sense. So Kyrie can play in San Francisco, but parents can't watch their kids in certain counties in California because they've completely shut down spectators for high school kids. We're not talking about a 40,000 person stadium to watch, Steph Curry. We're talking about high school kids and elementary school kids. It doesn't make any sense, and it just won't stop. They haven't there's been no evidence suggesting that any of this makes any sense, but they just keep on doing it. How does anybody that is old enough to have made it through high school see this and say, yeah, well, that makes sense? It just, I wish I could get in their shoes. How do we get here to the point where you're that stupid that you just wear that? Like, yeah, it's only for home teams, but if you want to watch your kid, I mean, how did you get
Jr.
there?
should show them what to do is to wear a mask around their chin while they play.
While in the game. I mean, it boggles my mind how this happens. And I would think and hope, just to bring it full circle, that this is going to alert some people to the insanity of this. And just really quick, the SF Gate, not the SF Chronicle, but the SF Gate, which is even a lower tier pinko commie rag, as it were, they're calling out the rules for thee, but not for me. So when you have those people, that's lower intellectually than even Bill Maher or Barry Weiss. I mean, these people are actual morons, and even they're saying, well, this doesn't make sense. So I have to assume it needs to come to an end eventually. I don't know who's this guy? Where are you at? Who's this?
I'm
Andrew.
muted. That's the same statue. Yeah, I was muted. That's the same statue that people are outraged about, but before they had
Wait, that's the same one?
Well, not the same one, but the same guy.
The same guy. Okay. I'm like,
no outrage about this, even though you've used his image and his legacy to promote your sexual ideology. So,
which has
no
become
problem there, I guess.
And that, for the record, has become very so corrupt, right? It's just they're using, this is what happens. Last thing here, and we see this, it's very similar with what Joe Biden is now doing with his Supreme Court pick. They are using these people as human shields. That's literally what it is. When Joe Biden says, I'm going to pick a woman of color for vice president, or I'm going to pick a woman of color for the Supreme Court, that's him saying, you cannot question this, because if you do, you are racist. And they're doing the exact same thing with the gays or the transgenders or whatever. So if Matt Walsh goes to talk to the bearded lady on Dr. Phil, you being critical of that is just transphobic. They're quite literally using these people as human shields from criticism. And I don't know if it'll ever end, I guess.
I finally found a word that you have an accent on. Phil.
What? Dr. Phil?
A black scent, even. You said Phil.
I don't know about that. We're gonna have to, I'll have to watch.
Play back the tape.
Yeah.
How do you feel as a black man about the Fresh Prince reboot?
This is actually news to me. I did
Wow.
not know.
Fresh Prince reboot, but serious, and like everybody in Will's family is African for some reason. I mean, I know they think Hollywood's so racist that they think people can't tell the difference between like a black guy from California and an African guy, but he goes and like Carlton is clearly an African guy. They've got several clearly African actors playing Will's family, so it doesn't make any sense, obviously. But yeah, it's a gritty reboot of Fresh Prince.
Now, I this is literally the first I've heard of that. I'll have to look into it, but it sounds like they're doubling down, right? So we got the Wonder Years reboot, but with black people.
Oh no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so the Wonder Years reboot, I don't know if it already came out or if it's definitely coming around the corner. I've seen some actually advertisements for it on YouTube, I think. Anyways, so the Wonder Years is coming back, but with a black family. And so now they have Fresh Prince, which was already a black family, going even blacker, so to speak. So they're going with real, like actual Africans. So no matter what happens, there was never going to be a Fresh Prince reboot, but with a white family. That's impossible.
Well,
But
we need the Cosbys with a white family, and I guess if we're being super fair, it can be like the Weinsteins. The father can be Harvey Weinstein. If we're being equivalent, it could be the Winespies or something.
Wow, that's dark, but
That's not that's realistic.
Well, the truth hurts. So why can't we?
Bad
I think we
people.
should. I think we should switch it. You should have the Fresh Prince, but then use a white family. You can have the Cosbys, but use a white family. But instead, they're going the complete opposite way and telling you that no, I guess I haven't heard of this. I'll
Let's
have to look
think
into
about
it.
this though. What's the opposite? What's the white version of Fresh Prince? So where would he be from? Where would William be from?
I think it would be. It would. Maybe this doesn't make sense because they were from the same era, but I feel like it would just be Full House, right? San Francisco, they're super rich. They live in this nice house.
Yeah, but he's got to move there. The character named who goes by William, has to move to San Francisco from where, like New York City or something.
Oh,
or like,
from New York or maybe like
Alabama?
New Orleans or something. Yeah,
somewhere where there's a rough white neighborhood.
I feel like maybe Alabama or New Orleans, maybe even possibly Florida, some part of
Play
like
street hockey or street baseball or something instead.
Yeah, and I mean, we got
guys in a pickup truck are coming after him, so he's got to move to San Francisco with his gay aunt and uncle.
You might have something here. You might actually have.
I'm gonna write this as soon as we're off air. I'm starting my script,
and I'm sure somebody will pick that up. I have no doubt about that.
Gay Fresh Prince is what it's gonna be. Hold up the book, Eric. We're finally gonna say goodbye. I think. We should have a big guest next Sunday. We won't reveal it in case he has something else come up. But New York City 2020, go ahead and biz-eye that. No, I'm saying you're watching Trailer Park Boys. I'm almost done the whole season. They've also got another season where the whole series. They've also got another season where they travel across America. So you're going to have to watch that as well. It's like a special season. And if you didn't know, Eric, that Lucy, the character Lucy, she will eventually leave the show. I'm not giving you a spoiler alert here, but she will, at the start of some season coming up, she will be gone because she once criticized a radio host of being overly sexually aggressive at her and basically called him a rapist. And it turns out that she was still messaging him and sending him letters and stuff after she accused him. So he was acquitted. And then she ended up leaving the show out of embarrassment, in my opinion.
She tried to Me Too somebody and it backfired. Well, I don't know.
Correct.
I don't care. I'm off the Trailer Park Boys. I am on Ozark right now, so I'm sticking with that.
You can't just jump around like this.
It's too late. Ozark has got its soul. It sold me, so I'm doing that now. I don't know. We'll talk about that later.
I'm gonna go back to watching Canadian soccer, playing the U.S. by the way, and fulfilling my lifelong dream of being Michael Jordan in video game form. Thank you everybody who watched. We will see you next week. Go watch my show on rebelnews.com. I'm getting a call from somebody right now. Perfect timing.
And you're also going to have a special guest on your Rebel show too soon as well.
Right. Named Eric Butler.
Awesome.
All right. See you guys.
Turn it up, Jordan.